Paintball nerd.
Today's guest on Paintball Nerd started playing paintball in 1991. He went pro shortly after 1992 with the California Black Diamonds. He's played for Tour de Force. He's played for the OG Ironmen. He's played for Bob Long's Ironmen. He's played for Avalanche. He's the curator of quite possibly the greatest paintball showroom, private showroom, in history. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show, Weasel.
Zyzek, my man, what's up, buddy?
Yeah. What's up, buddy? Thanks for doing this.
No worries. It's been a little while, and I finally got a chance to hook up with you.
Yeah, man. So I want to rewind a little bit back here because I remember the first time that I was ever exposed to the name Dave Cook, Weasel, I was watching Push, and Ed Poorman was on the screen, and I say it to you almost every time I see you. We got guys like Weasel, Rocky, great guys, great players, right? And when I saw that, when I was watching you in Push, I never thought that I'd get an opportunity to play with you, man. And yet we've played together on a couple different teams now.
We have, buddy, and it's been a lot of fun, man. I know when I was on the OG Ironmen, we were looking for a couple good guys. I know you're kind of getting back in the mix a little bit, and got the opportunity to hook up with you and play with you. And I mean, it was awesome, man. It was like, we had played together for years, and that's how I felt. Sometimes you just get off, right, and you just read them. You don't even have to sometimes communicate. So it's been just
absolutely, man.
With Cap in Pittsburgh.
Dude, I heard that they make small gauges on tanks now because of you. Is that true?
It is, man. The legend, the story is true, unfortunately. I wish I got royalties.
So what happened?
God, well, it's back in 1996 playing with Bob Long's Ironmen. We're in the finals. I think it was the last game of the finals. I remember we're playing Image, and started kind of playing in the middle with Bob being my back guy. I had been playing the wire. We wanted to mix it up a little bit. Everybody kind of seen the moves I've done on the wire, so let's go up the gut. So, I'm like, yeah, let's do it. So Bob's like, all right, we're going to go up to the 50 right off the break. I'm like, yeah, sure. No problem. My speed, I can do it. Close molasses, but somehow I find a way to get up to the 50, right? So I dive into my bunker, Superman style, got my gun up, and I slid. And for whatever reason, that gauge was bent down, even though I was holding it up, wrists up. And I just hit that gauge, and that gauge snapped off right at the very start of the game, and started hissing out air, 4,500 pounds and a 68. So I'm like, man, nobody even knew I went there. Nobody shot at me. So I took, the marker, threw it in the dirt, tried to muffle that sound. That wasn't working. It was throwing up dirt everywhere. I'm like, yeah, this is giving my position away. So I grabbed it and kind of grabbed my hand, just kind of went like this to muffle it. Didn't even really touch it, but it felt like kind of like a bee sting. And basically it separated the glove, separated the skin, and then the air went all the way up to about, 3/4 of the way up my arm. And at the time, I was just like, man, stinging. And, at that point, it's just communicate, just try to be a target, try to draw the guns as much as you can. So I had a chance at first place. So, I'm going to do everything I can as a team player. It's, something I've always kind of done is you just never give up until the whistle blows, right? So you just keep going. And, probably about 5 minutes goes by and my hands is hurting. I'm just kind of shaking it, adrenaline's flowing. Ref comes over, checks on me, says, hey, you all right? I said, yeah, I'm all right. And he must have seen me just grab my hand, shaking it. And he looked down at my glove, and my glove was just like a balloon. And he's like, you're not okay. You need to get out. I'm like, no. I got 5 more minutes of the game, 6 more minutes. I ended up ripping the glove off. I don't know if that was a good thing or a bad thing, but it just ballooned up. I think it just got about the size of a $50, about 3 inches of air all the way around. Long story short, man, I just played until the whistle blew and, ran off the field with the ref and said, hey, can you take me to the emergency room? And they're like, well, we can call an ambulance. I'm like, at that point, just drive me there. Let's see if we can find somebody. So they found one of the owners there, or one of the guys that worked in the field, ended up taking me to the hospital. And the scary thing is, in Atlanta, I'm out there. I think I'm, 19, 20 years old. I just started a new job about 3 weeks prior, gave all the insurance paperwork to the boss, and they didn't turn it in. But anyways, I'm sitting in the hospital for about 2 hours, and I'm like, "Where's the doctor? What's going on?" At this point, the arm's just getting bigger and bigger. I can actually start seeing all the way down to here, and then into my wrist. It was all solid white, so I knew that it wasn't getting a lot of blood flow. So kind of morbid, I started to massage it, and then actually started to kind of nibble on where the air went in, and was able to start getting a little bit of blood to come out. And I finally walked up to the front and heard the nurses talking, and they're like, "Yeah, if that doctor doesn't get here pretty quick, he's probably gonna lose some fingers, if not his hand." And I'm like, "What the fuck did you just say?" Pardon. And they're like, "Excuse me, sir, you need to go back to your room." I'm like, "No, you need to get the doctor here." So I, ended up going back, kicking and screaming, but they got a hand specialist there. What they should have done is actually put me in decompression chamber and kind of force that air out. But they ended up cutting me fasciotomy, I think is what they cut me here. They cut me same on the other side, and then they cut me right here, and then basically kind of just massage that air out. But talk about a scary time. I mean, I've heard of one other person getting pretty close to doing something like that, but it did change the industry. I was fortunate enough to have a lot of good people in my life around that time. I mean, I lived out on my own, single guy, didn't make a ton of money. I was living on paintball salary and some construction. So, bills up pretty quick. But that's where Dan of Air America kind of stepped up. Him and I were very close at the time, and actually Bud wanted to help out as well.
Man, that's a crazy story. I mean, you hear things like this that can happen, like, oh, don't mess with the air tank, don't touch any bleeding air because it could create a bubble, and it's amazing that it actually happened to you. And gauges used to be like this big, right? They were like, they were pretty good size, right?
Yeah, I think I got a couple up there on the wall somewhere. But
we're gonna go through the wall. Oh yeah, we're gonna get there. So for those that don't know, you are in your man cave, your paintball. What do you call this room?
It's my man cave, man. It's a full, 4-car, a little bit bigger than 4-car garage. Just a little bit of everything, man. A little bit of me, a little bit of paintball, a little bit of MDP, some pools, some darts. Just a place to get away and escape, man.
I love it. Well, we're definitely going to take a look at all the cool stuff that you got. We're going to build a little, build up the anticipation a little bit, because I know a lot of people will want to see that. But let's start off here, Weez, on a memory that really sticks out for you in paintball. I think we covered a big one, but tell us about another one.
Man, I would have to say playing with Avalanche. It was kind of not a planned thing. I was playing with Bob Long's Ironmen. We'd won my first world title in 1998 with Bob Long's Ironmen, and got an opportunity to go play in England. And actually, the jersey behind you, not so much the jersey, but that magazine cover was taken at that tournament when I played with Avalanche as a guest. And went to England, and I had a lot of good chemistry. Nothing bad to say about Bob Long's Ironman and the team that was there. But just the chemistry with Avalanche just coming in, and like I mentioned, playing with you, just certain guys, you just click. And it's hard to explain, especially if you've never been there. But in this case, it clicked so well. I just had such a great time, great guys. And I got an opportunity. Ed said, "Hey, you want to come play with us?" And I was going to try to make it out till the end of the year, just not to do that to Bob. But the offer was too good and kind of jumped ship. And for me to go play with these guys and win the world title that first year with them, and finish out the season, and then go into the Millennium season, and we just crushed it. I think 7 tournaments in a row we won.
Wow.
It was just, just a feeling of no other. I was pretty humbled about it, but you look at the guys on that team. You had Rocky, you had Glenn, Ed, Sean Ellis, myself, you had Scuba Steve. We kind of had a good mix, but there was a good core, Lasoya, myself, Lemansky, kind of always there, JR. I just keep going with the endless amount of talent that was on that team, and very diverse too, which was the crazy part, right? Kind of our interest in what we did and how we did it. But man, when we went out there, it was just on a different level. I can't tell you how many people come up and say, "Great game." I'm like, "Well, we haven't played yet." They're like, "Yeah, you're going to go beat us." I'm like, you can never have that attitude, For me, it was like, everybody said, who you playing? I don't know, just another 10 guys, another 7 guys, another 5 guys, just go out there, learn something, have fun, and do what you do, and for me, that's what it was all about. The winning obviously helped and made it great, but, to play with those guys was probably the highlight of my career, and I've had a lot of other moments, throughout my career in my life playing, but, for me, that's the top of the top, cream of the creme.
I would definitely consider that era, that particular team, that squad. And it's not just my opinion, but that group is known as the rock stars of paintball. You guys were known as like paintball celebrities, and you were huge, not only in the United States, but over in Europe. And I was actually just recently speaking to Travis about it. And it's like, you guys had reached this celebrity status, not just because you were amazing, an amazing paintball team, but because of the characters that you had on that team, the personalities. So what was it like, man?
We were so diverse. I mean, you could throw Chris up the middle, you could throw me up the middle. When we picked up Scuba Steve, I was no longer the snake. I was the backup to the snake, which is good because I could start games, I could finish games, I could close games. Chris could do it, Rocky could do it. I mean, so we were so powerful because we didn't have our set plays, even though it was sort of keep Snake Plissken. I wrote the rules in that snake. But the diversity that we had on the team was just phenomenal. And if one guy didn't break it, somebody else would break it. I mean, you go back and listen to some of the old videos, hear the calm demeanor in our voices. Hey, I need you to do this. You go back to the push video and the move that Rocky did over the snake. That started with Glenn in the middle saying, hey, you've got to get down to the snake. You got to go take him out. We lost our front guy. And I said, dude, I got 3 guns on me. They're pinched. They know what I'm going to do. I can't do it. It's got to come from the middle. And he goes, all right. So he reaches over to Rocky and says, hey, Rocky, you make a run across the field. And we were kind of known for this, right? A lot of guys like to do that blanket run straight down, but the element of surprise is this way, especially nowadays with the lane, right? And shutting lanes down. And so Rocky's like, yeah, I'll do it. So he comes screaming across, man, jumped over, stitched that dude in his head, started running down the snake. I got up and followed him. I mean, and that was the other, we didn't have to talk about it. You want to talk about great teams and teams that just dominate. I mean, how strategic are they in moving, right? It's not just a one bump and the next guy waits. It's like this guy goes, oh, I'm gone. And then the next guy's gone. Us, it just kind of came naturally. It's not something that we talked about. Again, it came down to that chemistry. You had little Knop, man, our little circus guy. I love you, buddy. And Chris, it was great. Rocky and I would go shoot 2 or 3, especially up the gut, and open it up for him, and he'd be the glory boy. And we were all that. Go ahead and go do the 1 or 2 guys, do them ugly. That's what he loved to do, and none of us took that stuff personal. It's like we all had our jobs to do, and we created havoc in our own way. And I mean, what better way to do it when you got Travis behind you, dropping a case of paint every freaking game or more back in those days, right?
Yeah.
We had Psalm on the team, pre-sniper. Throw it out there.
Dude.
But, any one of those guys. And then LB, we ended up picking LB up, I think, a year or 2 later, and another great addition to the team. I mean, we were solid across backs, mids, and forwards. And, like you said, the diversity and the ability to play on and off the field and just the wildness of the group, man, was just a chemistry of no other, Wouldn't have wanted it any other way, even though there were some rough times, still a great bunch of guys. I've actually gotten the opportunity to play with the majority of them here over the last couple of years. Kind of been my goal, coming back to the sport.
Well, we talk about Psalm pre-sniper, and we laugh about it now, right? But like, if you go back, I mean, that was the end of Avalanche. That was the end of the superstar team that everyone knew and loved. And I remember being at that World Cup and Eric Roberts throwing his jersey in the trash and being all pissed off. Rocky's crying. I mean, what was that like for you?
It was a little bit different, right? Because I wasn't directly on the team. I played Chicago with the guys and left right after Chicago. So it was Chicago in the World Cup. So I ended up had an opportunity to play with Dynasty. That was first year Dynasty. Came out and play. Always shoot yourself in the foot. What's one thing you wish you would have changed? Probably wish I would have went and played with those guys. But ended up playing with my buddy Spash and Frank the Tank, all A's, and went out there, and we had just finished up on the ball field or hyper ball field, and just heard some big commotion went down and on the other field, and was with Avalanche. I'm like, what are you talking about? So we kind of all ran over there and started kind of getting bits and pieces, that somebody was shooting from the woods, and they think they might have caught somebody, and I was like, wow. I felt bad for Avalanche. I really did.
Yeah.
Even though I wasn't on the team, and I left for my own personal reasons, just to see that team kind of go out the way they did, with the hiatus that the team had, was rough for me, even though I wasn't on the team, because I cared about those guys, and I never want to see anybody tainted, or even the name Avalanche tainted, for that. I mean, we accomplished a lot of good things, not just in the sport, but for people coming into the sport, for sponsors. I mean, we took a totally different perspective when it came to it. And, went out and doing signings and going to fields and promoting not only, the team, but our sponsors. And some of us did it on our own. Some of us were flown out. I was flown out a few times to do field openings and stuff like that. It was rough, man. And I still feel for those guys. And I know the stories finally come out exactly what happened and who said what and who knew what. I'll just tell you this, my personal opinion, there's a lot more people that knew. That team was pretty darn open and, I don't know, somewhat arrogant, I guess. But that's what made us good, right?
Yeah. It's true, man. Over the years, Weasel, who has been your favorite teammate over the course of time?
From just a friendship perspective, I'd probably have to say Sean Ellis was one of my closest buds. Still is. We don't get to nearly talk as much as we did, but he lived up in Monterey there for a while, and him and I hung out all the time. Playing hockey, going out and having drinks, just having a good time. If I had to say on the field, God, that one's tough, man. I played with so many greats. Lemansky was just phenomenal as a back player. Bob Long was phenomenal as being my back players. Fridge, from the old Bushwhackers. I mean, he actually even played with Avalanche just before I came on. I played with that guy shooting a case and a half of paint. It's from a front guy's perspective. Sometimes it's not just the middle guy; it's the back guy that really makes the front guy shine and look good.
Sure.
They put on, the opposing team, the more opportunity it creates. And, I was fortunate enough to play with some of the best in the world as back players, which just only made me, be able to do what I did, and make the team as successful in my position. And I'm sure Chris would say the same thing,
Who's a player that throughout your entire career would you call your favorite player? Meaning, if you see this person playing, you're going to stop and watch because you feel like they're going to do something amazing.
Oh man, that's hard because I different era. I mean, we were starting, that hiatus. So not so much in the very beginning because I was just an arrogant young. I mean, I was 17 when I started. I turned pro in 6 months, 7 months. So for me, I didn't really know anybody. I knew Shaner. I knew he was. I knew, young blood. Played with him. J-Man. Dirk. I knew all those guys, but for me, back in those days, who you were. Let's just go on the field. Let me show you what I got. I was just an angry kid, and paintball helped me out. It really kind of teach who I was and gave me that relief. If I had to look back and say now, I love watching Alex Frage play. It's even better when I get to Cyclops him. I just tell him. But just growing up with him, and didn't get to see a lot of Ollie's final years because I was kind of out of the industry. But I look back on Ollie and Alex, and, even Greenspan and some of those kids. I mean, they were 14, 15. I was 17. And, we were out there grinding every single weekend. I watched those kids just grow up from this to being the rock stars of today, and it's great to see them pass along just kind of what they were given. And that was people that were there to help them and explain to them the with them. You look at what they've done with Hermesis, and out, bands, just for anybody. It's not about the money for them. It's about giving back to the sport. And back in the day, I talked about it earlier. That's what we were all about: is how do we give back to the sponsors? How do we give back to the sport? I'd come back, and when I retired, I had no jerseys, zero. And that was the thing: is here you go. If I've got it, and I've got another one coming, here you go. Whatever it took to help promote, right? The sport and take care of the sponsors. So, if I look back at kind of those guys right now and what they're doing for the industry and the sport, it's just truly amazing. And it was funny because my son got to meet Alex, and I introduced him to Alex, and you know who this guy is? And my son kind of looks at him like, yeah, I know who he is. Like, no, do you know who he is? He goes, yeah, it's my dad. It's like, no, this guy who taught me how to play paintball. Yeah, I tiered some of my game around your dad and the style and the way he played. And it was kind of great. It was awesome to hear that from Alex. And how much I impacted him and his style of play, which was awesome. And to be friends after so many years, my son getting a chance to meet him was pretty cool.
Does your son play with you?
He did. He played with the OG Ironmen for about 2 years. He struggled a little bit. You kind of, some of the same things I went through as a kid. And Paintball would do it, and he was starting to get really, really good. I mean, he was going out, and he helped us get into the semis a few times on the OG Ironman, shooting 4 guys of adrenaline. So, some better, tough teams, and was really catching on. But, had a little bout of trouble, and then now he's a dad, so he's kind of just focusing on that, which is okay. But it's kind of what brought me out of retirement was the opportunity to play with my son, and he wanted to try and do something, and wanted to try to play paintball. So.
Well, Weasel, let's take a look at some of the stuff you got back there. I mean, this is like, it looks like you're in a paintball store. So let's start off with the jersey you got. Give us a story on that. Can you pick up your device or no?
Yeah, I can do that.
Yeah, we want to get a close up there.
All right. So let's see, that right there. So that would have been World Cup. And if you look in the bottom right, there's a picture of me wrestling Jerry Braun, and I'll give you the story behind that, but it kind of goes to that right there. But that jersey right there, that's a Chris Lasoya special. So Chris and
it's a remake?
No, it's an original. It was 2000, 2001. So World Cup, that was made for World Cup. There was that one and one other one made. There was only a few with even my last name put on it. Everyone was due to Chris Lasoya. So back in the days, everybody knew me as Weasel. Nobody really knew my real name. I don't know. It's just kind of how it was. I wasn't in for the fame, the glory. I was just in it to help me personally and do something that I love. So he thought it'd be funny, show up at World Cup. Here, I got you 2 new jerseys. I said, thanks, Chris. This was it? He goes, what are you talking about? I said, yeah, okay. And I had no other jerseys, so I had to actually wear these ones. So there was this one, and then we had a green and black, if I remember right. Both of those jerseys were framed. This was actually given to a good buddy of mine who's kind of like a father figure when my dad wasn't in the picture, and kind of just looked out for me. I was kind of hit, high school years and stuff like that. He since passed away, and his wife gave it to me. And the other one resides with my mom. So I had both of these done for them, just to say thanks for supporting me throughout all the years and what I do. And then that magazine cover that I showed you, that's in there, that was from England. Like I said, playing with Avalanche. And then that picture on the bottom right, Jerry Braun and I were bullshitting one day at World Cup, and he goes, yeah, I'm a better wrestler than you were. I'm like, yeah, I don't know, buddy. I was going to wrestle Division I. He's like, I'm old and I'll still kick your ass. I said, let's go. He goes, all right, so what's the bet? I said, you call it. To this day, I don't even know what he wanted, because I knew I just beat him up. And I said, how about a cover shot, since you're so stingy with those things, and you don't like to represent Avalanche because he owned GZ. He goes, all right, got to give me the picture. I said, okay. So we wrestled there in World Cup, and Emily got a picture of us wrestling and me pinning them. And that's what that picture is. And when I got done, I think Chloe took that picture in England, ended up getting the negatives from her and gave those to Gary, and that kind of got that cover shot going. But
That's awesome.
That I don't think a lot of people know.
Yeah. And there's also a jersey that was in Push that I understand someone is holding hostage.
Yeah, it's debatable. John, he thinks he's got the push one. I'll tell you that I just recently acquired one right there, and there's a story behind that one too. That potentially could be the one. Working on getting some right now. I did talk to a dresser. I probably had about 10 people, 15 people try to buy it off of them to get it back to where it belongs. I got the push gun right above my head. The very top is actually the angel that's on the cover of the push video. And, my goal was to get that, the jersey, and then my necklace and put it all together in a case, for a piece of history. But
yeah.
I'm tight to that one. The jersey that he believes is it. I traded to Nikki Cuba, who even tried to get it back, sold it to John, and John just wouldn't do it. And I get it. He's
a pretty big nerd.
He is, and he's a good guy. I mean, I love John. I've got no ill feeling. But some things just are meant to be together. And when I'm long gone, I'd love to pass these things on to somebody that would appreciate it and keep the memory of the sport going and understand where it came from. And I think Push was a huge portion of that. That video and what it did for the industry was phenomenal. And I mean, it's still talked about to this day, right?
Yep.
And that picture was taken in Hawaii.
I mean, it certainly inspired a lot of people, to pursue professional paintball.
Absolutely. It was funny because I got the World Cup and there was Pat, and Pat's like, "Have you got the booth yet?" This is the grand opening of Push. I'm like, "No, I just got here." He's like, "Oh, you got to go. I got a surprise for you." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "I got a surprise. You got to come to my booth." And so I go to the booth and I'm like, "Holy shit." I didn't even know he was going to use that picture on the cover, which I thought was pretty cool, man. But, the rest was history after that.
Well, let's see some of those old angels that you got. Like walk us through some of these special pieces that you have.
All right. So this one right here is actually off the cover of Push. The doo-doo brown. I think, Rocky was famous for calling it the doo-doo brown. Originally, it was all black. We used to put a lot of stickers and stuff on us, but this was the first one, man. I mean, there's no trigger pull on that thing. And this kind of started it for me with Avalanche.
That's an LED angel. Does that still work?
It does. And my buddy Furpo said if it doesn't, to bring it to him and he's going to take care of it. But pretty much when I put all these up on the wall, unless O-rings are blown and stuff like that, they all work. This next one would have been my world title, my second world title with Avalanche. So this was the next one that I got. And you see this in a lot of magazines, a lot of pictures. Me playing with this one, the old Warp Sports.
Dark Angel LCD, right?
Dark Angel. Then goes into the next one with my old Armageddon Air System, Air America. I mean, this thing
is that the one where the incident happened? No, that would have been much sooner, right?
Would have been blue one up there. But this was the next one. I played with this one for quite a bit. This was made by WDP special for me, along with the tank. They actually anodized the tank, which I never used. This thing's brand freaking new. But the girl's kissing. This was Random. We made a little swap and a little deal, which I'll save that story for another time.
All right.
And I think this is an A3 or A4. And for me, man, I wasn't big into the name. Just give me the thing, let me shoot it. And I always need, man, because when I broke them, I broke them. I just go, here you go, Owen, help me out, man. And so had this one, played with it for a little bit. I don't know, I just didn't like it as much as the older ones. And then this is kind of what I wrapped up with, another Dark Angel. Kind of finished playing with this one, and this would have been probably 2004, 2005 when I actually ended up going back to Avalanche, playing with Capalanche basically. So Dave Baines, you had me, you had Roberts, I think Ellis might even played on that just a little bit, Aaron, a few other guys, but this is kind of the comeback a little bit. before going to PSP days. And then we went to the old Empires, Contract Killers. And then that's when, Cowboy Roy started playing with him, kind of coaching them a little bit in PSP.
What's up with the spider I see there?
That one, so that's Trucker Billy. So he's a modern day pirate. I ended up winning that on a raffle that he had, and actually over there for pornos. So everybody at MDP hated me. Every time they gave a marker away, I'd win it.
You got a few spiders, right? Like one there at the bottom of the Angels.
Yeah, that's an Orion. My
Orion
gave that one to me. So I just recently saw her, and she goes, "Hey, I got something for you. I know you're into paintball, so So I'm like, that's worthy to go on the wall."
What about old autocockers? Any of those?
Yeah. So this one right here, this would have been my first cocker. This is when I started playing. My very first was a Derringer Mach 2, the old blue pump gun. It was a replica of a Bushmaster. Worked that summer when I just started going and earned enough to go buy that thing. And I went to go play a tournament. And in the tournament, they had a raffle. And in the raffle, this was the top prize. Well, I only had $13, right? And so I put all $13 in, and I ended up winning this thing. And it's serial numbers in 8330. That's how old it is. 8330. And then Danny Love, if you remember Danny Love, right? So I played with him on Tour de Force just before he moved to Chicago. And, we stayed in contact. And I said, man, I've got my tattoo of the Weasel with the paintball gun. I'd really like to get it put onto my gun. It's like, oh, I've got a guy. He can hand engrave it. Just send me your gun. And I'm like, really? So I ended up sending it to him, and he hand engraved it. And I don't know, I played with this thing for, 12, 13 years, I think. And probably more.
That's awesome.
Thing. And this is actually what I won my world title with Bob Long. So
wow.
And this one, that blue one up there is my other world title. And then the one below it would be the third. So those are the three that I won my world titles with.
Awesome.
And then this one, this was kind of special. So this was Bud Orr. So we talked about, Bud wanting to help me out when I blew up my hand. And for me, I don't know. I couldn't take money. It's not who I was. Air America Dan wanted to do something too. And, I just told Bud, it's not, I can't take any. He's like, well, I hear you don't have any money. And I said, no, I live out on my own, man. And he's like, well, maybe I can do something for you one day. Well, maybe one day, Bud, when my other one finally takes a kaput, I could use a new cocker. He goes, all right, you just call me up and you let me know. So about, a year and a half, 2 years goes by, and I say, hey, Bud, how much would you sell me a cocker for? It's like, for you, just tell me what you want. So he goes, contact my son. And so just tell him what you want. Tell him I said it's fine. And so I called up his son and I said, all right, so here's what I want. I want a blue fade. And at the time I was only 2-time world champ. I want to put that on there, my name. Oh, and by the way, I also want to take my Weasel and I want to put it on the gun, just like my other one. This one was actually laser engraved. And he's like, well, send me what you got and we'll take a look at it. So I sent it down to him. He's like, yeah, this is going to be too much to make. I just can't do it. I said, all right, no problem. Your dad just said, just tell you what I wanted. And he goes, all right. And so Bud called me a week later and said, hey, did you get that all squared away with my son? He goes, I was talking about it was going to cost too much to do the laser engraving because this was before it really started, right?
Right.
And he's like, don't worry about it. Just I'll take care of it. And about 3 weeks later, man, I got this thing in the mail, and I've only played with it once or twice. I mean, to me, it was more just the memory behind it. And, I was talking to Bud here probably about 3 weeks ago, and, we were just talking about our friendship throughout the years. And, some of those friendships are just hard to find, and, Bud being
sure.
he was such an awesome guy. Even if I wasn't sponsored by him, I could have called him at any time, said, hey, could you help me out? I need this, or, could you help me out with sponsorship? He would have done it. I mean, that's just the kind of guy he was. It still is.
It's amazing what Bud has created with the autococker and the fact that it still is alive and well today. And it's taken on a new form. It's like, autocockers are now this thing of nostalgia. It's kind of like a Harley, you can change every part on it. And and they're just as expensive as a modern electronic gun, a CS3 or whatever. You can find autocockers for over $2,000, and that blows my mind.
Yeah, I've got a Shock Tech up there on the wall that Danny Love made. He did a run for MDP, and
Let's see that.
You want to see that one?
Yeah,
it's pretty. So it's called the hand.
Woo! Dang, that thing's almost too pretty to use.
Right? And it's just phenomenal, man. It's got the F1 barrel in it. This thing is phenomenal. And it was funny because I sent this one to Danny. I said, "Hey, Danny, I want to get this one working again. I want to go out and play with it." And he sat on it, and I love Danny to death. And he sat on it. Finally, I'm like, "Danny, years gone by, man. Can we get it going?" I just can't come to do it. And I said, "What do you mean?" He goes, "That thing needs to go on the wall." He goes, "Come see me in Chicago. I got a present for you." And so when I got to Chicago, Danny totally hooked me up and took care of me on this one. But yeah, this thing's phenomenal, man. I played with it a few times, and I wish they would have shot like this back in the day. I mean, just special.
Dude, I want to hang out in that room.
Anytime, buddy. You're always welcome.
Dude, certainly, if anyone has a room like this that's watching, please let me know, because I've never seen anything like what you've created there. It's a paintball nerd's dream.
Yeah. Well, here's the new section that I just put up. Is the Avalanche. That's an original Avalanche banner.
That's awesome, dude.
Gosh. Had a Richardson jersey up there, JR. And, like I said, there's the Cook 69. And when I first started with Avalanche, I got on and said, "Yep, all right, what number you want? 69? Chris like, "You can't have 69. That's my number." I'm like, "Well, step aside, bitch. I'm taking over."
Oh, man.
Our feud, man. That started it. A few jerseys were made with that 69. And he tried giving me 96, I think 9. He gave me a couple different numbers, and I finally said, "I'm done, dude. Screw you. My number's 169." He goes, "You fucker." That was one. I
love it.
Yeah, just put the 1 in front of it. Hey, there can be 2 of us, buddy. I'm just number 1.
Yeah, I'm sure Chris loved that. Dude, so you've been in paintball for so long. You've played with so many amazing players. What does it... This might be even too complicated to ask, but what does it take to have a career like that in paintball? What advice would you give?
For me, it's always the reason why I was doing it was the drive. It was the motivation behind it. Yeah, you have fun, but for me, it was, how do I tame the beast? How do I, stay off the streets? How do I stay out of trouble? How do I stay focused? And for me, that was my release. It was wrestling when I was in high school, and I really hated school. Later I learned I have ADHD, so I really struggled in school. So when I quit wrestling and didn't go to a Division I school to wrestle, I tried something different, and started getting in paintball my junior year. And for me, that was it. And it kind of gave me that same release, and able to kind of just get through the day-to-day grind. And so it's follow your passion. You're going to have your highs, you're going to have your lows. I did take some time off, and I think I took 13 years off the, playing professionally or the circuit, right? Had and kind of lived that life, and, kind of got back into it. But, for the people out there, say, how do I do it? And how do I stay competitive? You got to, 1, stay in shape. 2, you got to have the mentality and the drive. Me, Zyzek, you tell me to go to the 40 off the break, I'm at the 40, and I'm 50 years old. You want me to go to the 50? Let's go to the 50. You want me to go do, 3 bunkers? I was recently playing ICPL at Dave Baines Field, and I had a 6-pack, in like 40 seconds.
Nice.
And Baines looks, "Is that you?" I'm like, "Yeah, the old man's still here, buddy."
I love it, dude.
But I think the only thing to slow me down is, the brain's still thinking, and the body wants to go, but then, the body doesn't go.
Yeah, you feel a little pinch here, a little soreness there. Dude, I get that too.
But that's not a bad thing, right? Because the game is a mental game too, and that's it's not a physical piece of it. It's how do you read the field, and what they don't is on the field I can read, adapt, I can change, I can see the hole, see. I mean, that was one of the things that, I was very good at, that and the snap shooting out of the snake. But for me, it's just kind of just being able to read that field and calm down. And I think that's where the ADHD kind of plays into effect, right? Because everything kind of slows down. It's kind of like that matrix, right? Where it just kind of slows down. It's like, oh, it's way too quiet. There's a gap. There's something. And you never know. What's the old saying? A move's never gonna be. Don't try it, right? So, what do you got to lose? So you get shot and you go to the next match and you try it all over again. You have a bad tournament. All right, what do I need to adjust? Do I need to slow down an extra 5 seconds? Do I need to get a gun up when I go make that move? There's times when you don't even have to do that with who you're playing with, and there's other teams that you play with that you are kind of alone. So,
Yeah.
looking at my career, the best thing is learn how to adapt. And, just this way today doesn't mean you're going to be that way tomorrow. So be open, be, cognizant. I mean, one of the things that I used to do, and I still do to this day, when you can't find me, go find the field that we're playing on next. Because 9 times out of 10, I'm out there 5 or 6 games ahead, just watching and learning. And, when I get out in a game type situation, for whatever reason, that stuff sticks. What worked, what didn't work? Was there a lane I didn't see? How did that guy get shot? Where did it come from? I'm always analyzing and trying to figure out how do I get that next step, right? Part of being a Weasel was being sneaky, right? An advantage of the field and the terrain. I can't tell you how many times I've crawled in wide open. People would just look, they'd see me, but I'd come up and just tap, one shot.
Dude, I think that's why the 10-man format is so important for the sport. It's because it has more of that creativeness, has more of that sneakiness, has more of analyzing certain situations. And that what that allows to happen are players that are not as fast or as young as they used to be still make a difference on the paintball field. And I think about it all the time. Like if X-ball was the only format available, would I still be playing? I don't know, I don't. But that the 10-man format has something that I've always craved in paintball, and that's the ability to outsmart your opponent. And you can still do it in X-ball, but then you got another point, and it could wash out what you've done. Nothing against X-ball, really. I'm just saying that I think 10-man really harkens back to what the type of paintball that makes people fall in love with the game.
I'd have to agree, man. I think it's what kind of really got paintball on the map, right? The biggest thing, I mean, I started in the woods, we went to hay fields, then we went to wooden pallets, and we went to hyperball, then to airball. And I mean, I've played kind of all aspects of the sport. And, what made it as big as it was for me, I think it was just that.
Yeah.
It was the woods. It was that ability to be sneaky and take guys that maybe are in their 40s and 50s and maybe a little overweight and take young, fast guys and just go and be able to dominate. You look at the Ironmen, a lot of, bigger guys, and they were powerhouses. Why? They were able to leverage the terrain and leverage strategies, laning and stuff like that. I mean, we were some of the first to really put in laning, but back in the woods, it's completely different than it is. Instead of just sitting there holding the lane, right? It was like, no, our lane is I'm going to shoot up at this angle like this and go 5, then I'm going to take 2 steps back, and I'm going to do it again. I'm going to closer, just in case, right? Walk up and back. But yeah, I'd have to agree with you, man. I mean, when it got into the airball stuff, I was kind of like, I don't know. And I loved in your face. I mean, I'm from NorCal. I mean, we created the in your face paintball. Don't care. And
For sure.
On you. And even in the Avalanche days, I mean, we made sure you knew who you played. Everybody got at least 5 or 10 on and off the field.
Yeah.
But for me, it was a different era, man. And, it's funny when they started with the air ball and they had the big old air tubes that went across. I can't tell you how many times we tripped over those things.
Oh, yeah.
But it was still fun because it was the big push in those days was how do we commercialize it? How do we get it up? How do we get the bigger sponsors and put more money into it? Sponsors, from what I hear nowadays, don't put nearly what they used to back in the day. I mean, 80,000, 90,000 was a contract per year. from a JT or something like that. But the big push, the guns got faster, which I think took away some of the game. I don't think it's just not being in the woods. I think when you what's making mechanical successful now? It's 5.5. Why? You have the ability to move. You have the ability to think. You've got to have, a better ability to actually shoot somebody out, right? You've got to have somewhat of a skill set.
Yeah.
Those 1 or 2 or 5 balls count instead of 50, in the
Yep.
air. So, for me, that's the part that I like about the game, because it gives you so many more opportunities, and the game is so much more diverse. If they could
For
find
sure.
an airball, that'd be great, but I don't know if they can.
Yeah. Are you reading anything that you would recommend I read or the listeners read?
Oh, yeah, there was John. God, it's there is one. I'll remember it. I've read it a few times. An old Navy SEALs guy.
Goggins? Dave
Uh,
Goggins or no?
Willix.
Jocko Willix.
Yes, Jocko. Yes, his book, Extreme Ownership.
Yeah, that's a good one.
It is really, really good. And I've actually gone through that book a couple of times. It's been a little while, probably about 1.5 years since I last read it. But want to talk about just from a military style was awesome, but that extreme ownership and how to take each thing as it comes, learn off of it, grow off of it, but also be willing to say, hey, there's a better way. I think the one that stands out, and if I put it in paintball perspective, is when he talks about the 2 boats in Navy SEALs training. They take these boats and they just run these guys. You got a captain that's just kind of manages everybody, and you got to get around the buoy and back. And this one team just started crushing it, and just nobody could touch them, beating them by 2 minutes, 3 minutes, and the other guy who kept losing, kept taking second, was complaining, well, he's got a better crew and da da da. And the guy's like, no, it's how you work with the team to make it better. And he goes, I could do it. And he goes, all right, the only thing we're going to change is captains. And he puts the 2 captains on the other 2 boats. And the first time out, the guy ends up winning, but by a small midge. And the guy who had been winning nonstop, I think he ended up winning on the 2nd race and the 3rd race. And it just goes to show sometimes the leader within that can change and take a dynamic of a group of people that maybe don't have the right skill set, but find a way to use every little bit and piece, right? And you look at, were we the best in the world? As a team, we were. As individuals, yeah, some of us were up there, others were not. But what made us successful is we all had a special, unique niche, and we used it, and we constantly moved it around and changed it. So, when I read that part of the book, I mean, it kind of hit home, thinking about, the wheels of the spoke, right? Some are short, some are long, some are beat up, some are cracked. But together, we made a solid wheel and a solid team, and we're able to get to the finish line first.
I love that.
Yeah.
Weasel, I know that you play mainly for you, for, like, as you say, taming the beast and like an outlet. But how do you want to be remembered in paintball?
I've been asked that question a few times. I always struggle with it. Everybody always wants to be, remembered as the best player in the world, the best snake player, or this or that. To me, if somebody thinks I am or was, that's awesome. But for me, it's what have I done for the sport? I continue to give back wherever I can. I'm still giving stuff away. Sent some stuff off to a friend in Atlanta who just started a field. I've done the Alley Remembered Foundation, which is stop the violence around domestic violence. So every year, I think it's been going for 4 years now. I've done two out of the 4, and I'm actually going back this year. And my buddy Yarber, when we played with him in Pittsburgh, he actually donated one of his jerseys. So I always try to get a bunch of jerseys from buddies I know. I usually donate, something that I have of mine as well. And for me, a lot of people don't know how much I give back to the sport, but I don't do it for the recognition. I do it, for the love of the game and, where I came from, and, just do whatever I can to help out. You know what I mean? If I can put a smile on somebody's face, if I can save somebody's life. Most of my friends on Facebook, are the paintball industry, and there's a few on there that, I just saw messages, and not a big Facebook guy, but I do pay attention, kind of check. And, there's a couple on there that have thanked me for saving their life just for reaching out and, just they're like, I never thought I'd talk to you. And I'm like, I'm just another person, man.
Yeah,
Sometimes we need that. And so for me,
absolutely.
my legacy is, hopefully is what I give back to the community. Paintball is such a unique sport. There's a guy going through cancer, and one of the Allie Remembered Foundation members found out and was really wanting a headband, a Hermesis, and ended up buying it and got a contact with me, and we reached out and got that thing sent over to him. And for me, that's what it's about, man. Is how do we give back, and just the willingness of the people within the sport is just unbelievable. From some of the top guys in the industry all the way down to people we don't even know haven't even played tournaments. They're
Yeah.
always to help one another out. It's just phenomenal. And look at, he recently lost his wife, and he's talked to him this weekend. He's up in Yosemite, spreading her ashes. Just him, and he went through a rough time, and LB set some things up and tried to help him out, and just the amazement of people who stepped in to help JR out through such a difficult time. And, that's what I love about the sport.
Yeah. What are you most thankful for that paintball's given you?
I'm alive, man. I'm alive. I'm breathing. I'm kicking. For me, it was, just how do I get through the day to day? Grew up pretty rough, and some of these organizations that I belong to, it's for a reason. For me, it was, to stay on the straight and narrow and have something to look forward to every single day. So for me, without the sport, I've said multiple times, I wouldn't be here, man.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, Weasel, dude, thank you so much for your time here. Is there anything that you'd like to part with for the paintball community?
Hey, man, hopefully I'll see you out there. I've been on a mission to play with people I played against forever and a day and new people. So hopefully I'll be on the field, or we'll get an opportunity to play with each other while I'm still alive and still kicking. Still trying to get up there, man. So, I just thank everybody for, being loyal. And, I can't tell you how many people said it was great to see me back. And, I thank you. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Weasel.
All right, buddy. Good seeing you. Take care, Zyzek.